So it's very clear, very carefully thought out, and very structured both by Rugby India and by GMR Sports. Where is rugby played in this country? It's played in 322 out of 760 districts of this country. 40% of India plays rugby, but none of it is in a big presence in the cities. Our big generation of players comes from the hinterland, half of it from tribal areas. So we don't have a presence in the main metros. So the RPL, apart from the many things it does, it gives you 6 teams in 6 cities. Now with those 6 teams, with the best players in the world coming down, you will attract a different kind of attending crowd, both in the stadium, as well as a different kind of crowd looking at it online or on television. Because suddenly it becomes this sharp, slick, aspirational product, as opposed to being a product that is played in the hinterland and seen by rugby people only. So the idea of the Rugby Premier League from the Rugby India point of view was, how do we create 6 engines of infrastructure and growth of rugby in parts of India that we are not present in strongly. And this is what we've done with this tournament. Now in Mumbai, Delhi, Kolkata, Chennai, Bengaluru and Hyderabad, now we have a presence thanks to the muscularity and the upscale aspirational positioning of the RPL of the sport that we didn't have before.
This doesn't just become a spectacle, but actually does something at the grassroots levels of the country, in
I think,
identifying or scouting talent at that point of view.
Look, I'm the president of the Indian Rugby Football Union. Tomorrow there'll be a new president. Whoever it is, this is our property. The money we make from this is less than negligible. So why are we in this? We are in this so that these 6 centers become engines of growth of rugby in those geographies. I can't ask Delhi Reds to go and popularize the game in the middle of India or in the south of India, but I can ask them to popularize the game in their Delhi geography so that they get better local talent, so that they can win the next year's RPL, correct? So the idea is, it's already started happening. These cities, these franchises, they have their own strength and conditioning coach, they have their own physiotherapist, they have their own psychologist, their own nutritionist, and gradually they will start saying, okay, now we need to get more players to come for a camp to Mumbai or to come for a camp to Kolkata. They can attract players from all over the country, but that city will then become a node, a nodal place for rugby to be fostered. That's where we come in. You want 40 people for your grassroots, for your team? You want to win in 5 years from now? We'll supply 40 people. So 40 people. So suddenly you have the influx of youngsters getting into these teams. Maybe they're not paid very much in the beginning, but even if you see in the IPL, they have come through the ranks. They have been net bowlers, they've been playing, they've been picked up, they've been development squads, they've been youngsters, and then one day finally we see them on television. So it's all of that that's going to be contributing, both in terms of hard infrastructure. Tomorrow they'll have a rugby field. Day after they'll have a gymnasium dedicated to their teams, correct? So the hard infrastructure will increase in places we don't have it, as well as the attraction like a magnet in these cities of players outside of these geographies.
So the auction format for rugby is relatively new. Kindly tell us, what gap are you trying to fill, and how do you see the success of these auctions?
So we have a draft come auction. It's like the NBA and the NFL has a draft, which means that the players have been chosen. Every player is going to play the NBA or the NFL. The question is, for which team? So with our international players, because they are the best players in the world, you can't have an auction and say, maybe you'll be sold, maybe you'll be unsold. No, they're going to come here. So you have to assure them that they're going to come, because they have to give 4 weeks of their life to this. So what happens is that you have a draft for the international players. And we're talking about the equivalent of Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi in rugby. That's the best. This is not some retired player from 5 years ago, or this is not somebody, whose father was famous. No. These are the best players in the world. They're coming in from New Zealand, from Australia, from Fiji, from Argentina, from Spain, from France, from South Africa, all of them. So you cannot just have an auction of them. You have to you draft them in to say, you're playing. Whether you play for Delhi, whether you play for Bengaluru, whether you play for Hyderabad, is what we did today. With the Indian players, we have an auction. Because it's exciting to see, because we had something like 79 Indian players vying for 30 spots. Then you have an auction and you can start to see who are the players valued from last season, who are the players who can make more money. We didn't want to fix the amount for the Indian players because if they can make more money, that's fantastic. And so we want to make the Indian players the future stars of the auction.
How was the response to the auction so far, sir? Because today we had the auction for men's and women's.
Yeah.
And as well as football.
Well, the response will be in that room. This is not something that we're doing to become the most popular in the world. This was for owners, stakeholders to see and to sit there. So, of course, the links went to all the owners across the world to have a look at, coaches, etc., for advice and all of that. But it's done, I can't think of any league that does it more professionally. It's done, it was done super professionally. We had Malika Sagar, who does the IPL, who's been our auctioneer for the last 2 years. So we don't spare any expense, nor do we spare any technical expertise in making sure that this is a cracking world-class draft and auction.
So, just last two questions, sir. Rugby is still a niche sport in India. What are the structural challenges that you particularly find, difficult to break and, get the sport kicking in?
The biggest challenge any sport will tell you, any sporting president of any federation will tell you, is infrastructure. Where are the grounds? Where are the indoor courts? Where are the air-conditioned rinks? You know what I mean? Where is the ice skating? So it's just infrastructure. So the first thing you have to ask yourself is, what do we need in rugby for infrastructure? We need a ground. In that way, our demands are the least. We don't need fancy wooden flooring or some hard court to play racket sport in. We just need a ground. But even that is a challenge. Because there are so many places. You tell me how many grounds are there in Mumbai where you can play? 10, 15, So if in a place like that where space is a constraint, this is a challenge, then if you go into the hinterlands, there is plenty of space, but you need a level ground. You need markings on the ground. You need a little bit of grass. So we still have many parts of India where rugby is played on a mud flat with stones. Now you can't play rugby there, but it is being done. So infrastructure is the biggest challenge. How do we actually create, like what a fantastic job football has done with their FIFA grounds, right? Something like that is what we are moving towards doing in rugby. We've just, in Odisha, in Bhubaneswar, there are 2 synthetic rugby grounds for the first time in this part of Asia. So those can be used all weather. So gradually, that's the challenge. My dream is where if there are 760 districts in India, to have at least 760 wonderful rugby grounds.
Sir, last question. You have seen talents across the world, but as far as India is concerned, how do you see the rugby sporting talent, the potential, and till where do you think we can see the sport grow?
So our women are 6th in Asia right now, out of 36 countries. Over 100 countries play rugby sevens. So rugby sevens is the medal sport, the Olympic sport, the Commonwealth Games sport, the Asian Games sport. Our women are 6th in Asia. For perspective, if we get to the top 2 in Asia, we make the Olympics. Let me ask you a question. For the last 80 years, only one Indian team has gone to the Olympics, which is hockey. That's it. Every other Olympian who comes out of India is individual sports, shooting, wrestling, etc. We want to be the next sport. So if we get to the top 2 by 2032, we'll be in the Olympics. So you ask me how good can we be? We can be the very best. We can be the very best. How so?
Is there a large enough talent pool in India?
How much talent do you need to create a world-class team? I know countries that have 5,000 athletes that have a world-class team. We have 60 to 70,000 athletes. So there's no excuse. We have to get there with a high-performance program, with a nutrition program, with a psychological preparation program. We have to have camps 12 months a year. This costs money. Right now we have camps for maybe our 6 top teams for 3 months a year. So we have to raise 4 times the amount of money to make sure it's on 12 months a year. So it is about money being spent correctly on hard and soft infrastructure. That's the challenge.